Welcome to Fan Counters. My name's Nick, and I'm flying solo again for this last weekend in July. Last week I mentioned that I was heading out to the Country Thunder Music Festival in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin to cover that for the show, and I had a great time being there again after 20 years. A lot has changed since I last covered the event. Country Thunder has become very commercialized in a good way. Dozens and dozens of food trucks and merchants were at the festival. There was nothing you couldn't find that you wanted to get at the festival, which is super awesome. They've also got a big top circus tent that featured an after-hours rave atmosphere. So after the main stage act at night was done, everybody heads to this big top tent, and they partied like crazy. It was an amazing light show, and it was very fun. The camping also seems like a lot of fun, but I didn't do that. I wouldn't think that you're going to get much sleep, though, because during the day, the music is blaring from every single campsite around. But it seems like it's a lot of fun. So if you want to experience Country Thunder this year, you still can. Although the festivals in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Saskatchewan, Canada have already taken place, there is one more, August 17th through the 19th in Calgary, Alberta. That festival features Dierks Bentley, Toby Keith, and Eric Church as the headliners. So if you want tickets for that festival, head over to countrythunder.com. Now, today on the show, we have an artist who is at Country Thunder in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. He'll also be at the Alberta show coming up in August. His name is Bryan White, and at the age of 20, our guest today signed with a major record label and released a platinum-selling album. His follow-up album did the exact same thing. Bryan White has charted 17 singles on Billboard's country music charts, which includes 4 number-one hits. Those songs are Someone Else's Star, Rebecca Lynn, So Much for Pretending, and Sitting on Go. So today we're going to catch up with this 90s country star, find out what he's up to now, and we're going to hear about his experience as a devoted husband and father, all on today's episode. So here we go with Bryan White.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fan Counters with Nick and Elizabeth on the PodFix network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're going to, oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fan Counters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
So welcome to Fan Counters. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So we're at Country Thunder USA. And one of the nice things about this is on the day that you're performing, like Mark Chestnut is here, Toby Keith is here. When you are doing these festivals, do you interact with those people that have been around for decades like yourself?
At a lot of these festivals, I know so many people, but if I don't know the artist, I know somebody in their band, and it's only because I've been doing it for so long. In fact, today I had two guys from Toby Keith's band, played my show with me because they're two of my best friends and they're just amazing, and I wanted it to be a little bit more of an amped up acoustic type of show. So yeah, I do interact with some of the artists if my schedule permits. You know, sometimes I'll play these shows and I'll have to bolt out because I got to be somewhere the next day. But today, fortunately, I'm able to hang out, and I'll get to probably see Toby a little later on, and you know, Mark Chestnut, and a bunch of different people that I've been around for many, many years.
So you will stay and listen to some music tonight?
Yeah, we're gonna hang out today, which I don't get to do. I haven't done that at Country Thunder in a while, so I'm excited about it.
Now, after your show, one of the neat things you did, and we're all about fan experiences and that kind of thing, but you go to your merch table and you meet your fans.
Yeah.
Did you have any good encounters today?
Well, first of all, that's my favorite part. I love people, and I love interacting with everybody because, I mean, that's the lifeblood of our whole world. You know, we wouldn't be here without them. And, you know, obviously, yeah, I mean, not going to lie, we have a merch table to sell our product, but it also allows us to interact and hear stories from fans. Today, a girl named Sarah came up, and she was just completely beside herself, so much so that she couldn't stop crying, and her husband was there, and I think her husband was a little bit embarrassed, but I don't know if that was alcohol induced or what, but you know, those things are it's special to them, you know, because they connect they connected to your music a long time ago, and when they hear those songs or when they see you, they're not just thinking about what's going on right now. They're thinking about how much of you and your music was kind of the backdrop of a situation in their life for them, or maybe their upbringing, or maybe there was a time in college that they were listening to all your music, and it means something to them, and it means something to me. But I love hearing those kind of stories. Those always are a huge blessing to me, and they really highlight my days.
Now, you mentioned early, your early years and that kind of thing, and what music meant to people back then. Now, you've come from a musical family, and I'm only going to ask one question about back in the day, but looking back as a retrospective, you've been at this now 20 or 25 years. Were you surprised as a 20-year-old how much success you found so quickly?
I think it's only now, in retrospect, that I realize that, I realize how much success I had, and at such an early age. I didn't realize it at the time. It's hard to grasp when it's actually happening to you, especially being that young. All I knew then was, okay, where are we tomorrow? And I've got to do a good show there, and I'm working on the show and tweaking it every day. How can we make this better? And I'm thinking ahead, like I'm writing all the time, trying to create for the next project. And so it's hard to have that outside perspective of the success, because you're just focused on the next move, the next step. But now, looking back, I think I'm even more grateful now than I was then.
Now, not only as a music artist, you also were very successful songwriting early on. You had some hits for Diamond Rio and Sawyer Brown. When you sell a song and they record it and it becomes a big hit, is there a part of you that wishes you might have kept that song for yourself?
When somebody records a song that I wrote or co-created, it's always a big compliment, because it makes you feel like you're doing something right, and the material you're creating is connecting with people out there, especially your peers. And what's great about it is when they record it, anything I've had recorded, they kind of put their own spin on it. So, there's always things that they'll do that was on the demo that maybe I sang a certain way or something, but they're still ultimately giving it their spin. And then at the end of the day, some people will ask me, do you wish that you had recorded that one? I can't say that for all of them, but there is one in particular. There was a song called Imagine That for Diamond Rio that they had a big hit with it. And if I ever get a chance, I'll play you the demo of mine. I wanted that song. I wanted to record that song really bad, but the camp that I had, the label, management, A&R, all those people, for some reason, I was outnumbered in opinions, and they didn't think that song worked for me, and it was kind of I wouldn't say heated, but it was pretty frustrating, because I felt like that song was a song for me too. But then, when it becomes a hit from somebody else, you can't argue with that either,
Very true. Now, you have music new coming out. You sang one of the songs today in your set. It was called Amen. Are you still writing all your material? Are you collecting songs from other artists? Talk about your new music that you're bringing out.
I think even as me being a songwriter, I think you really shoot yourself in the foot when you don't keep your doors open for outside material, because, I live in Nashville. I mean, the greatest songwriters on the planet are there. The greatest songs are there. There's no better songs being written anywhere else, in my opinion. And so I try to write from my own experiences, and the things that come out of me that I feel like I want to make a statement with, they'll make my record. But if there's something else that comes in that somebody else wrote at another publisher somewhere that trumps one of mine, I'll boot mine in a heartbeat. What matters to me is, are these the best 10, 12 songs that represent where I am today? That's really all that matters at the end of the day. So,
do you have more freedom now with the music that you're choosing to record?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on a label. I'm pretty much the label. I've been offered 2 or 3 different record deals, and I entertained them, but they didn't seem to make sense for me, and I just didn't want to go back down some of the avenues that I'd already been on, and it would have stifled my freedom in being creative and doing what I wanted to do. So yeah, I'm kind of calling the shots pretty much. So
that's good. So our show, Fan Encounters, we talk a lot about fan encounters that you've had throughout the years.
Yeah.
Which ones really stand out to you, like you will never forget?
Wow. there's so many of them. It's so hard to recall them on the spot. I particularly remember meeting people on the road that they were such huge fans, and they had had 2 or 3 battles with cancer or lymphoma or Hodgkin's or something like that. People, I can see their faces in my head. I can't remember their names, but they were just completely outside themselves to be at our show. And you could just tell that it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them. And their parents were with them, and they were on the front row, and we were able to treat them and take them, let them have the complete VIP experience. I mean, those are things that, I remember specifically my tour manager, Brinson, looking at me during some of those times and seeing tears on their faces, and Brinson looking at me going, buddy, we don't have any problems, man. We're very fortunate. And I specifically remember him saying that to me, and he was right. We don't have any problems. We're very blessed. So.
Wow, that's very good. I remember Brinson Strickland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from back in the day. Now, sharing memories, I remember, and I don't know if you've done thousands of performances, but one in particular was a very stormy night up in northern Wisconsin, and you were playing with David Ball, and you had this white silk shirt on, and your bus was parked nowhere near the stage, and you were just running to the stage and back. You played throughout this pouring rain and everything. I mean, that is one moment that I don't forget from covering shows that you performed in.
Wow. Well, I've almost been blown off the stage many times by weather. So it kind of goes with the territory.
Now, have you ever run into somebody who might have said something to you, and obviously somebody with cancer for sure would leave a mark on you, but maybe something that somebody did for you that really stuck with you after all these years that has made an impact on your life?
Gosh, I wish I'd had about 2 weeks to think about this one. There's so many people, man. I would say, really, going back before the music business, my granddad told me something that stuck with me for years, and this is probably more important than anything. He said, Bryan, whatever you end up doing in your business, he said, if you're not somebody that people enjoy being around, you're not going to go very far. He said, you need to be somebody that you want to hang out with, and love people and work hard and you'll be all right. And I've never forgotten that kind of stuff. Be somebody that you want to hang out with.
Sounds like those are words you've lived by your whole life.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Your wife, Erica, has a successful acting career, and so I'm sure that takes her out of town with the boys a lot, away from them. And obviously you're touring, and today you're here with your son. We got to meet him earlier, which was awesome. But how do you balance raising your kids and having 2 very busy entertainment careers?
Well, I will say this, with all due respect to my wife and her career, she's home a lot more now. She does not travel to the West Coast very much these days. She's pretty much full-time stay-at-home mom at the moment. And she does work a little bit in town, and every now and then she'll go out of town to go film something, but it's a little less, so she's able to be home with our kids while I'm still traveling quite a bit. But it's, in terms of balance, for some reason, I just think God makes it all work for us. I think we just we try to make the best choices. Anything that seems like it's compromising us being parents and compromising our kids and their lives, we just don't do it. And I don't have any problem today saying no like I did years ago. Like years ago, I was just a kid, and I thought, well, I always felt like if I said no, I might be saying no to something that could really help my career or something. But now I'm like, no, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to that, and I think that's part of it is with age, you know what's important, you know where your priorities are. And if it's going to be something that's kind of compromise, our kids, we just don't do it.
What has been the most surprising or challenging thing for you as a parent?
The most challenging thing for me as a parent, choosing my battles. Disciplining your kids is difficult at times, and it seems like there's something around every corner. And I think Erica and I make a good tag team. We're just sometimes when I think we just know how to throw something to each other at the right time, you know. But let's see, what's another challenge? Man, you're nailing me with these. I thought I was doing good till you threw these parenting questions at me. I was prepared for tour questions.
Well, these are different things that your fans think about. They want to know about.
It's the most challenging thing to me as a parent. Well, when I'm not home and I need to be somewhere, and I've got 2 kids that aren't getting along, and my wife needs to call me to let me be the disciplinarian. It's kind of a little hard to be the disciplinarian when you're in, you know, Wisconsin or something. It's like, hey, stop doing that, you know. And sometimes you really want to be there and you're not there, you know. So it's, I would say, and trying to be strategic about what to miss and what to stay home for, you know, because you got to make a living, you know. I think that's a challenge, is being having powwows with your wife and going, well, is it imperative that I'm here for this? You know, I wish I could be home for all of it, but it's just not a reality for me. So I have to make those choices to be home for the right stuff, you know. So that's a challenge for sure.
Social media, you've got a lot of followers on your social media channels. How active are you with your fans?
I'm pretty active, actually. I love talking to fans. I love Twitter. I would say probably my most active and engaged audiences are Twitter and Instagram. I love both of those forums. I love talking to people. I like, you know, when people see me and hang out with me and so on my socials, they're getting me. They're not getting me through a filter. I like talking to people. I like the stories on Instagram. That's the most fun for me. I like posting my runs and things that I'm doing out on the road, and I think people have probably know me better now because of social media than they did back in the day, because, you know, you had to write your fans pen and paper back then, you know.
Or have these massive meet and greets and that kind of thing. But sure.
I remember back in the early days, I'm not kidding, I had my own stationery, and I would sit in the back of the tour bus and I would write until my hand would not work anymore. I would try to write everybody back, and then our fan club just started growing so much that you couldn't do it. I remember calling people,
really,
like calling them from the office, and they did not believe it was me. They wouldn't believe me, and it made me so mad. I was like, no, this is really me, you know. But if I could have FaceTimed them, I could have proved it. But and then, of course, it grew into something where you just you couldn't physically write everybody back, you know. And what made me want to do that stuff is I remember my mom telling me she wrote a letter to Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees when she was a kid, and she said, Brian, Mickey sent me back a handwritten letter with a picture of him and his dog, and it meant so much to me, and I never forgot that story. I was like, you know, and when it happened to me, I was like, man, how cool would that be if I started calling people and writing them letters and stuff? And
yeah.
So, you know, it's important to people. They want to know what's your world like, you know, and so that's the fun part of it for me. And social media allows you to be right there with them, you know.
Now, there is a picture on your Facebook page. It shows you almost like in a mall setting with thousands of people, and the look on your face is priceless. Do you remember what that was? Was that just a signing, or was that part of that international thing that happened a few years ago?
That background picture on Facebook is the one of the hundreds of Robinson's malls over there in Manila, and I think there were probably upwards toward 5,000 people in that audience. And it's just funny how, you know, you think a song has done all it's going to do, and then you suddenly learn on your social media that song has taken on a whole new life in the East, on another continent, you know. And God Gave Me You was a song that just blew up over there back in 2015, and it has continued to take me back to the Philippines over and over and over. And the Filipinos mean so much to me. They're just the greatest people in the world, and I feel like a long-lost family member, you know. They've been really great to me. So
awesome. Had you been to the Philippines before?
I had not been to the Philippines before. If I had any critique on, you know, something we could have done better back in the day, I wish we would have worked harder back then on international touring. I think everybody didn't have the vision that I had as much back then in terms of overseas and things like that. But, better late than never,
Exactly. And now you're running your own career at this point, basically, because you're here by yourself too, right? You just brought your son and you flew in, and that was it.
Small team, yeah.
You have new music coming up, right? Are you releasing that at some point? I mean, or is it out now?
I'm working at my own pace on this new project. One track in particular that is almost done. It's a tribute to one of my heroes, Don Williams. I love Don Williams, and I re-recorded "It Must Be Love." And it's just a fun kind of, it has kind of an island feel to it, and a lot of ukuleles and stuff like that. It was really a fun track to make. But I've got a bunch of new songs that I'm real proud of, and I'm sort of just working at my own pace. And that's the thing about being your own captain. You kind of, whenever you feel like you're ready to release it, it's the right time. So
2 fun questions before we go. What are you watching on television or DVRing these days? What will we find on your DVR?
You are sitting next to the biggest Shark Week fan that is alive. So I love that. I love the Discovery Channel a lot. Justin, what do we watch the most? What does Dad like to watch? My favorite show on Netflix is Meat Eater TV.
Really? What is
It's
that?
a guy named Steven Ranelli. He's a big he's a hunter, and I'm a big outdoorsy guy, and I do everything. And this guy is unique because he knows so much about the history of America, and how, as it relates to commerce and how the nation was built on, these different types of animals and the trading of furs and stuff like that. And he's a chef, and so he hunts a lot and fishes a lot on this show. But the great thing about the show is not the hunting so much, it's that he prepares all these incredible dishes on site.
Okay.
They carry all their stuff with them wherever they go, and it might be sub-zero temperatures, or it might be 95 plus, but they literally prepare something out in the woods or out near a lake or something, and I just think it's the most captivating, entertaining shows on TV right now. So
okay,
yeah,
I'll have to check that out. I have not seen it.
Yeah, Meat Eater.
Okay,
Yeah.
Is it all different weird meats, like they'll catch an alligator or something?
I mean, you name it. I've seen him eat a coyote. So I wouldn't take on a coyote, but it's interesting to watch. Like, he'll take a bite of it and he'll go, "If you're starving, this will work for you, but don't eat this otherwise," So it's really fun to watch. I also love River Monsters too. I think that's a great show. So
awesome.
I'm one of those guys.
And in Nashville, if somebody's visiting the city, what restaurant will they most likely find you at?
What restaurant in Nashville would they most likely find me at? Let's see. In Brentwood, I would say Uncle Julio's. In Franklin, Barbara's. It's kind of a meat and three. They've got a different meal every day. Like
cool.
Thursdays or fried chicken days.
Okay.
It's that kind of thing. And then downtown, I love. Gosh, there's so many of them down there. Let's see. Las Palmas is a really great Mexican restaurant that's been there a long time. I love that place. Gosh, I can't think of anything else.
That's good.
Isn't
That's
that
good
horrible?
enough.
I'm like running aground.
Well, Bryan, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at Twitter. I'm Bryan_White, and it's the same across the board. Instagram. I hang out a lot more on Twitter and Instagram than anything. Facebook, I will dip my toe in there on occasion. I'm more of a surfer on Facebook. I'm just kind of pop on there to see what's going on. But management and fan club they do a lot of the posts that are there. But I do get on there sometimes to do like Facebook Lives and stuff like that. And you can catch me in Kentucky and Tennessee next week, and then after that. I think I'm going to West Virginia, Ohio, and then I'll be back at Country Thunder in Calgary later in the month of August, and then the Minnesota State Fair. So
awesome.
Busy.
You will be around. All
Yeah,
right, good deal.
sure.
Well, thanks, Bryan, very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Our thanks to Bryan White for taking time to talk to us at the festival, as well as Country Thunder for allowing us to cover the festival. Now, if you want to attend Country Thunder in Calgary, Alberta, August 17th through the 19th, just go to countrythunder.com to get those tickets. And if you want to follow Bryan White or know where to follow him on social media, just head to his website at bryanwhite.com. We are also all over social media. You can follow us at Fan Counters Live on Twitter and Instagram. You can also join our huge Facebook community by searching for Fan Counters on Facebook, or email us at hello@fancounters.com. We've got another brand new episode of Fan Counters here for you next week, and we hope you tune in.
This was a podcast from the PodFix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.